An EU report says the jobless rate in the Eurozone hit 10% at one point in April. It's the highest level since 1990s. The ILO, that's the International Labour Organization, is warning politicians not to make things worse. Now, the ILO in its latest report says financial instability is putting the global economic recovery at risk. It forecast for the worldwide unemployment rate this year is 6.5%, historically high, and of course, it's very disparate between the developed and the developing countries. But it does mean there are more than 210 million people. That's putting it into real lives. I'm joined now by the Director-General of the ILO, Juan Somavia, from Geneva in Switzerland. Director-General, the position is as follows. Governments are now starting to introduce their austerity measures with a view to cutting their deficits. But you believe now may not be the time and the effect is going to be too serious.
Look, the objective is necessary and a good one. We need to reduce debts and deficits, but the timing is wrong. We have to be able to to combine growth and job creation with reducing the excessive spending. This essentially means that if you continue on this track, growth will come down, unemployment will grow, and social tensions will become higher. But it is not inevitable. You can certainly combine policies to have a balanced approach in which you maintain policies that stimulate growth, that you reduce the debt, and you keep a global economy going. It is all interconnected. There are spillovers all over the place. You cannot have an either-or approach to this.
But as we look at the jobless numbers and the levels of growth necessary for bringing it down, there's no doubt from the ILO's point of view that those who are least able to withstand the pressures are the ones going to be affected. Is that right?
Yes, that's what history and practice tells us. That's why it's not about not reducing the debt. It's about having an exit strategy that protects the most vulnerable and maintains the policies that create jobs.
But
you can combine those things.
Let me ask you, if you have a situation like we saw with Greece and we've seen with other EU countries where the market is saying, cut your debt or we will punish the governments with higher bond rates, surely economics dictates that we have to take these measures.
Look, I understand the reaction of governments to markets because they have the power to do what they're doing. But let's not forget that be policy cannot be guided by the anxiety of traders. We know that they can get it wrong. We know that they can be overreactive. And we already saw that in 2006, 2007, 2008. Rating agencies did not see the problem coming. They don't see the crisis coming, and they now may be creating a crisis that was not there.
So what is your fundamental worry, though, if we go... I mean, obviously, the balancing act has to be correct, but you are assuming that they're going to get the balancing act wrong in saying that they shouldn't even start doing it. What's your fundamental fear for social cohesion?
No, I am not saying that they should not begin to do it. I think that you should begin, but you have to combine it with policies that continue the growth stimulation and with policies that don't affect the global economy. For example, keep credit flows going. They have gone down 10% in the US and around 4% in Europe. Ensure that if you withdraw, you leave social protection and job policies in place and an active labor market policies. If you put these things together in a different format, you can deal with both problems. Certainly, you need to act on the fiscal consolidation, but you need to keep growth going.
Do you fear, sir, that as the policies bite, and we know that the austerity measures will not take effect or not bite for another 18 months, do you fear a risk of a breakdown in social cohesion, putting it crudely, more trouble on the streets?
You see, I think that people want to know that whatever you do is fair. You know, in crisis conditions, people understand that, you know, you have to cope with it. But when you feel that the measures are not fair, then you have the complication. Let me tell you, by the way, that I'm talking from the perspective of the real economy of this tripartite constitution of the ILO, of employers, workers, and governments. You know, many governments are looking at what's happening in Europe and are getting worried. And a lot of investors and employees are saying, well, where is my demand going to come from in the future? So this is not just a perspective of social cohesion, it's a perspective of the real economy. And you cannot concentrate on one measure if you don't balance it off with another that produces jobs and growth.
Director General, many thanks indeed. The head of the ILO joining me from Geneva in Switzerland. Many thanks.